Hello, I'm more than happy to be presenting here in front of you today. It was exactly 1 year ago when our CEO, Malha Sirtladze, was standing on this very stage and he was presenting our one and single customer of Dynatrace back then. This was biggest bank of Georgia, TBC Bank. That was the first company that trusted us, and today I'm here presenting 5 companies that are our customers right now, and we have 10 live ongoing pilots. So with very strong solutions supporting our side, I believe that we will be able to keep that pace going for many, many years. So I will be presenting Dynatrace as MRT for your applications. I just want to check how many people in the audience know what is MRT or MRI? 10? 15? Oh, that's good. We will define it later. So we are a Georgian company. We have already 10 years history, and we have 3 main directions. It is infrastructure, security, and DevOps. I'm head of DevOps department, and here are the list of the short list of the customers we are working. Generally, they are the biggest Georgian enterprises and government bodies. So basically, everyone who is doing anything in Georgia, we are supporting them and working with them. So this is the short list of the vendors that personally I am working with, and Dynatrace was, so to say, the first love, first approach of in the DevOps field, and it still maintains to be like favorite and most reliable and easy to use and work with vendor that I had experience with. So when I was invited to speak about DevOps and our experience with Dynatrace in Georgian market, I found out that each of our 5 customers have their own very specific pain point that Dynatrace managed to cover, and I will be happy to present it today very shortly. So what is MRT? MRT is magnetic resonance tomography that generates image of anatomy and processes of human body during health and disease. And I started to imagine Dynatrace as MRT for your applications, and I will shortly explain why it is so. So TBC Bank was our very first customer. 10 minutes ago, we received the news that Global Finance acknowledged TBC Bank as the best bank in Georgia, and the specification of TBC Bank is that majority and most critical applications like internet bank, they have outsourced and Czech company wrote it for them. So they have huge infrastructure, and you can imagine how difficult it is to work with outsourcing company, and when something is going wrong, to persuade them it is their problem and they have to fix it. When they keep pointing fingers on you that it's your hardware and not their software, and you have to invest on the hardware and so on and so on. So the biggest problem TBC Bank was facing was communication with the outsourcing company, and they could not afford their internet bank to have any problems, and they wanted quick problem solving and so on, but they could not communicate with this outsourcing company as flexibly as it should have been. So they hired another company that would recommend them which application monitoring tool or collaboration tool to pick that would help them to communicate with this Czech outsourcing company, and they were recommended to choose Dynatrace, and we were happy to help them and install Dynatrace. But then, when Internet Bank had the first few problems, the Czech company started pointing fingers on Dynatrace. The Dynatrace had so big overhead that it was Dynatrace's problem, and they requested that we should switch off Dynatrace. Then we invited Vlad in Georgia. He sat with Czech partners, and they went through the architecture of Dynatrace and the architecture of their internet banking. And as a result, today, whenever this internet banking has any slight problems, they are asking screenshots from Dynatrace, transaction history, and bank is extracting this information, sending to them, and they are fixing it very quickly. So the feedback that we had from bank was that it's made the conversation and communication between outsourcing company very comfortable and very easy, and they are working together happily ever after. And also, the key message CIO wanted me to tell you today is that whenever you're working with very sophisticated infrastructure, it is very, very important to not to have different points of vision and different technologies. You need to have one eye. Everyone needs to work to the complex architecture with one very reliable source of truth. And this is what was Dynatrace in their case. So second, our biggest customer, which is biggest bank in Georgia, it's Bank of Georgia, that's how it's called. And they are largest by assets, and they are listed in London Stock Exchange. The specification of this bank is quite opposite to the first one. They tend to use the software that is mainly in-house developed. So for example, internet banking services and lots of other is developed in-house. And as you can imagine, they are facing lots of instabilities and problems with that, because we can all agree that there is no application, no code that is perfect and doesn't have downtimes and so on. But it was like 8 months ago that they had some recurring problems and they could not catch it. And they had zoo of technologies, and one approach was that to have zoo of monitoring solutions, for example, for database, for logs, for user experience, for applications. And then they had to aggregate all this information and search where was the problem occurring and what was the root cause. And we proposed Dynatrace, and the problem was so critical that they went even without POC, and they installed Dynatrace, they purchased Dynatrace, installed on the production servers, and after a week they found and solved this problem. And also they had some problems with database bottlenecks, garbage collection issues, and they were able to pick the best garbage collector algorithms, for example, with Dynatrace. So with unhappy C-level and unhappy customers, within a couple of weeks, they went to very stable internet banking and much better customer experience. And the key point here is that when you have very, very complex application, even when it is in-house developed, you don't have too much resources to dig down to it with different source of information tools. You need to have one single source of truth, which is very reliable and gives you big picture, and at the same time gives you the direct answers of what is going on and what is the problem, and then you are able to solve it very quickly. And so after they found out what was the root cause on that specific application, bank is planning to scale up and to cover majority of their infrastructure with Dynatrace. And we have very specific case here that there are some devices that help you to put cache on your internet bank account. And as you know, Dynatrace is monitoring web applications and mobile applications mainly. But they want to monitor that devices as well, which is spread all around Georgia. And we are planning to use custom plugins to cover that kind of devices as well. And I believe it will be very interesting and very hand-picked big project, and that will bring us big results with that bank. The third customer that we acquired last year was TerraBank. And the case here was that they had revolution within IT department. Majority of their employees were changed, including their CIO. So new employees had, first of all, to figure out what was going on in this software to maintain it going on, and then they had to scale up and develop new functionalities and so on. And that's when I started comparing Dynatrace to MRI, because they did not know how their applications were performing, how their applications were thinking and using technologies that they had. And once they installed Dynatrace during the POC on their application servers, they had the full visibility what components their infrastructure included. This is, we had some question here that why should not you go with multiple agents, and why one agent is very important, that is auto-discovering everything, because there are cases when you don't know what is going on in your huge infrastructure, and majority of you, I believe, have like huge infrastructure, and the documentation is not helpful. Let's all agree on that. So they installed Dynatrace One Agent. They discovered how the applications were working, and then right now their favorite image is visual resolution path that is giving them very high-level picture what is going on, and they are able to resolve the problems within minutes or maximum within the hours. The first our customer was Basis Bank, and it had opposite case. they had employees that were working with the bank for years, and whenever there was a problem with internet banking, they had to approach these senior administrators or senior developers, and they would spend weeks figuring out what was going on and then troubleshooting that issue. And we all agree that they did not have that much time to spend on maintaining and fixing the software. They needed to develop it fast to keep up with other companies that were competitors and so on. So we installed Dynatrace pilot there. The terms of trial licenses expired, and then I approached to CIO to hear his feedback. What did he like the solution or did he not? And he told me that he was blind, and he found out that before the trial he had no information what was going on in his applications, and he wanted to start the project as soon as it was possible to fly again. And it was like a surprise for me. He was so much amazed with the solution, and we started project there. And today, when I made a call for follow-up, he told that the problems that would usually take 1 month to figure out and resolve, today takes 1.5 days. It takes a couple of minutes to find out what is the root cause, and then the developers have to go there and fix the problems. And fifth, our customer, it is revenue service, it is government body that is gathering all the money from taxpayers and their specific reports that businesses and private bodies have to submit after per month, per quarter, and per year. So they have huge load, like 1 or 2 days, every month, every quarter, and every year. And if there is a problem, they don't have like a week to resolve. They have to resolve it very quickly. And they needed to have end-to-end visibility, starting from what's the user, like CFO, clicking on their application, to what's database processing. And when they saw Dynatrace, they told me that that's what they needed, and we launched the project there. And fun fact was that when we finished all the configuration and Valerie started knowledge transfer, there the room was full with bright-eyed developers and engineers listening what the solution was doing, and we were doing the knowledge transfer on their live production system. And after 2 hours, I noticed that a couple of developers were leaving the room, and when I started to ask why, they were looking what was the problem in their system, in their live infrastructure, and they were running to fix it, and they were coming back. So today we find out that Dynatrace on this company is favorite tool for developers, because they can see what's wrong and they continuously see what's the problem and fix it and continuously improve the quality of their software. So I believe that a couple of you could relate these stories to your company, whether you're working with the outsourcing software company or whether you have in-house developed software, whether you have new employees or old senior ones who are spending their time on figuring out what's going on in your application infrastructure. I believe that Dynatrace can help, and we already experienced that happiness from our customers. It really is the universal point of truth, and it really shows the anatomy and processes that's going on in your application infrastructure on both health and disease states. So I hope it was interesting, and if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer.